And we're live,
Hey,
season
good evening,
8.
everybody. Capt Ron here with Diane waving warmly, and First Officer Dieter, our other captain, my truth serum buddy here. He's off trying to go into the deep with his brother down in Cozumel. And so Diane was just saying, right now the weather's not cooperating down there. So,
Yeah,
anyway.
a lot of winds and the harbor was closed today, so they're hoping that the winds die down so they're able to go out and go scuba diving. So,
But let it be known that the airplane got in okay. So,
absolutely.
okay. So we got a fun show tonight. We have a guest, and let me formalize it a little bit. I'll share my screen to make it look like we are
And
serious.
while you pull this up, for all of you watching, this is our 8th season of our live show, which is hard to believe, but 8th season. I think we, over the 8 years, I think we may have missed just 1 or 2 here or there. Other than that, I think we did pretty well, Captain Ron. What do you think?
Yeah, so far so good. I think I touched on it last week, but I can remember the first one where you encouraged me. You said, "Just set your iPhone up on the kitchen counter and just talk to it, Ron." Oh my God, that was the most unnerving thing. And I'm sure one of the ones that if we missed one, it was during that phase there where I couldn't get myself technically up for that. So anyway, but thanks to Dieter for the encouragement. It's made a difference. And if you happen to be one of the people who in any way remembers that first time or still hanging around, my sympathy for you, number one, but two, we're grateful for you hanging in there with us. So thanks a lot. So this is Fearless Flight Live. This is our weekly show on Facebook designed to help any of you who have a fear of flying or any of you who know somebody that has a fear of flying, get some insights and some tips and strategies to help you cope better with the whole experience. Or if you just want to listen to us talk about the aviation industry, and we're going to do about a little bit of that tonight. We're going to touch on how safe it is and continually gets safer. First thing, of course, in our 8 years, one of the great additions we made is our Fearless Flight private Birds of a Feather Facebook group. And please feel free to join that. If you're new, let us know. Join the group. It's free and get some support from not only the staff here, but the people, the wonderful other fearful flyers that are out there joining with you. It's a great place. There's tips in there. We were just looking at a few of the things there before we came on board tonight. So please join that. So we have a special guest tonight in just a couple of minutes. I have just a little thing I put together on is aviation still safe? We're going to talk about the 101 live classes in the Los Angeles area. We are seriously, and I mean more than seriously, getting ready to restart those. I'm going over to meet with the studio owner tomorrow to see if we can get that going. He's really excited about doing that. It's no longer just north of the Burbank Airport. It's a little bit further for those of you who live in LA. It's up in the Valencia area, but it's a really, really nice studio. And it's a little bit nicer area than what we used to, where it used to be located down there. And then we've got the live monthly group coaching webinar coming up for January. That'll be a week from this Thursday, January 16th. And then, of course, any questions you have, please leave comments in there for whether you're watching us live or whether you're watching the replay. Okay. And this is, I've been getting a lot of calls from people who have purchased the 201 online course, who have purchased the Fearless Flight Kit. And they say, "Hey, I got these tools, but what do I do with them?" And of course, not surprisingly, Dieter and Diane and Eric and I, we put the stuff together. We didn't consider that anybody wouldn't have the same mindset that we did. So we're going to focus on what you do with that and what do you do? And if you're chronically phobic, how do you make that transition to the next level? So if you have any interest at all, if you're stuck anywhere, it'd be a great webinar for you to catch up on. So I'm going to invite Grace Sheldon Williams to join us. Grace, I've known Grace. Oh man, she's going to have to remind me, but it's been a number of years. And I think you came to one of the Burbank classes. Did you not, Grace? Yep.
I
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
I came, let's see, 9 years ago.
I was going to say it had to be at least 5 or 6 because it was 2019 when we stopped them. And so, but anyway, so I don't know if that bodes well for me and Fearless Flight because it means we took forever to help you through it. But anyway, you've been doing some coaching lately, and you had a couple of flights under your belt, and so I just thought you'd be a delightful guest. You're a delightful person, and I thought you'd have some things to say that could inspire other people. So first thing is thanks for joining us, and a little bit about yourself. You know, whatever you would like to share, and you can include in that your history with flying.
I grew up flying. My father was a pilot. By the time I was a little kid, he had flown in World War II, the Air Transport Command, and then became a private pilot. And so we flew. He had a plane, and we flew with him. And so I was never really afraid of flying until later, and somehow I developed anxiety about flying. And
so his airplane, owning an airplane, all it was almost like a family car, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Were you like the co-pilot or things? Did he involve you in the?
I got to fly it once.
Okay.
He did this.
Oh yeah, it was a Bonanza or something. Then
It was a Beechcraft Bonanza.
Bonanza, yes. That's right. And you had to be a little bit extra special to be a civilian pilot in the Bonanza.
Oh,
yeah.
And it was in the mountains.
Oh
We were
yeah.
flying in the mountains.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he taught me about keeping the nose up and
so no fear, basically, right? I mean, you just took it for granted. Or do you remember any times when you felt any apprehension or anything like that?
Really not with him, not with my
No.
dad flying. So that's interesting. And but then later, and I flew quite a few times with my husband when we were first married. We've been married 28 years. And we would fly back to visit his grandmother in Connecticut every summer and visit, go to New York City or Washington, D.C. or Boston, along with visiting her. So that was fun.
So the flying part was just a vehicle to get to where you could have some fun.
Yeah.
Not a factor.
And I flew overseas a few times in my 20s and flew to Japan, flew to the Soviet Union.
Holy cow.
I flew on Aeroflot.
Oh, that takes courage. You deserve a medal for going on Aeroflot. I definitely would not ride Aeroflot today.
No.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Yeah, so I had some adventures. And anyway, so I started getting flight anxiety, and the only personal thing that happened that I can think of was the death of my mother.
Okay.
In 2010.
And did she precede your father or not?
No, my dad died. He actually died in a solo glider accident in the mountains. Yeah.
Wow.
How old were you at that point
At that point, I was 32 or 31, something like that. Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Okay. So you were 31. How old were you when your mother passed?
49.
So big gap, pretty much. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I started working with you 9 years ago, and I did the class at Air Hollywood, and we went into the simulator, so to speak.
Right. The mock-up. Yeah.
We didn't get to do the turbulence thing, though. It was closed or being used
Well,
for something.
it was funny because the thing that all when you looked at it from the outside, all it was basically sticks and
Yeah.
chicken wire and a let. And the inside was very realistic looking. But what he had done, he had one client, somebody making a movie, and they wanted the ability to generate turbulence. So they built a little catwalk on the one side, and then they had a whole fleet. Like 20 of these compressed air machines, and they would blow it up. It took quite a while to get it up there. So then it's just sitting on kind of like a big donut or something. And then what I would have them do, they'd have the guys that worked there, I'd have them go out and stand on the catwalk and jump up and down, you know, and I'd have them do it right in the middle of me talking. Yeah.
I have video of that.
Yeah,
Live. I have video of our jumping up and down, and they're jumping up and down in the early days. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And from someone coming from a real simulator, it was like, oh, not so much, you know. But it was amazing, and all we had to do was just interject or introduce one little step or time of that, and everybody, you know, like that. But it was amazing because then everybody kind of got it. They said, oh, we're just sitting here, and we got afraid for nothing. So anyway, I interrupted you. Yeah, that was a turbulence in the simulator.
So I remember walking in and sitting down, and the seat wasn't attached. It's like, whoa.
They would have to move them around from client to client, and sometimes they wouldn't get them all attached down. Yeah.
And you were playing, I think you were playing music at some point, and there was a woman who was that just created so much anxiety for her. She was like, why are you playing that? What's that noise? And you were trying to calm us down. It just was really interesting to see the different levels.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
And of course, that's part of the value of having more in a class where you get to see other people, and you know you're not the only one. And some people take some value in seeing, oh, I'm not as bad as that person is. You know, I actually had a lady one time, and I'm dead serious. She came up to me and she said, "You're not going to actually fly this, are you?" And I said, "Well, other than no wings, no power plant, no controls of that, we're in a hangar or we're in a warehouse." It's gonna be, yeah. But that's how sensitive people are. So I'm glad you said that because I'm getting really excited about going back and doing that again, because it's fun when you have a real simulator, but God, that's prohibitively expensive. And the airlines wouldn't do it now. So it'll be fun to do that when we go.
Ron, let me just jump in here, because we got a question about when are you doing it again in Air Hollywood. And as we mentioned in the beginning, we're hoping to have the classes 101 style, so there's no flying attached, which will make it a whole lot easier for us to set them up. And we're hoping the first one for the beginning of February, and maybe one for the beginning of March, but stay tuned. We have all the details coming up. But yeah, it's happening sooner rather than later. That's for sure.
And I'm literally flying over tomorrow to talk to Talat, the owner, and he's all in for this. He was just totally warm and friendly and saying, "Hey, let's do this again." So it'll be fun. And Dieter and I talked about it, because before we try to squeeze in 5 hours of classroom stuff and then get people to go fly. Well, the problem is you need to buy the tickets 2 to 4 weeks ahead of time, and it's really hard to get somebody who, number one, says, "You want me to buy a ticket?" And I'm not even yet to the class. And so we're hoping that, like Phoenix, we'll get people going through the class, and then we'll follow it up with a flight or something. And you've done both, right, Grace?
I've done the 101. Is that the in-person class?
Yes.
I think I've done that twice.
Yeah, you did, right, because I did it multiple times, but I think you did do it twice over there.
And
in
then
Burbank.
I think I came in I did it online once, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got the whole kit.
Yeah.
And I've done the flying. So whatever.
And I'm just looking forward to you saying, was it worth it? Was it, and what you would say to other people? Because I think it really helps for people to kind of immerse themselves in it. You don't have to make it a 24/7 thing, but you do have to just kind of keep bouncing it around your consciousness. So anyway, so back to where we were when you're talking about your mom died, and you can identify that as kind of a time when things started to shift for you.
Yeah, we were on a trip and we had to fly home, and it was sort of it was 2010, so my cell phone was, and we were in national parks, we were in Yellowstone, so we didn't have cell service, and she had fallen and broken her hip, and
Oh,
all the
wow.
rest of the people on the medical directive ahead of me, my brother and sister-in-law were all on a cruise, so they were unreachable. And then I was the one that ended up getting contacted, and so all of this mixed in with flying home. And I think that's may have
Yeah,
been
and we may never know. You may never know for sure, but it certainly makes sense that when you add that uncertainty to that to flying, which is one big uncertain event, it makes sense to me why that might be a time. And did it just pop up and it was there, or did it kind of creep up and get worse, or what was it?
It crept up.
Okay.
It crept up. I could fly short flights, like and it was kind of like if I really wanted to go somewhere, like Las Vegas,
Yeah,
then I would fly.
that sounds like a con job to me to get Greg to take you to Vegas.
And then my mother-in-law died last summer in August, and her burial was to take place in Chicago, where she came from.
Right.
And so I knew I had to fly. So I really focused. I had a coaching call with you. I had all of the access to all the audios and videos, and I just sort of immersed myself. I did the little cards. And
you keep talking. I'll pull up the little cards.
Dust bunny.
That's worth sharing with the group here. Yeah.
This all came about because when I would get ready for a flight, I would think, oh, I better put everything away because when they come in after the crash, I don't want them to think that I'm like a lousy housekeeper.
Yeah. So this is the dust bunny display.
Yes.
So I told when I'm coaching with people, I'm always looking for things that you can build on stuff. And this was perfect. I never had anybody talk about dust bunnies so what were the dust bunny things about?
Well, I think that's just like evidence that I wasn't sweeping the floor or dust mopping the floor adequately. And so you can see on the lower right there, don't want to fly October 26th. Ugh. That was the 301 flight that I had a ticket for to fly with, your class.
Okay.
And so
So no matter the fact that this was all done in preparation to explain the condition of your house, if you had in fact died on a flight, right? So, I mean, this is so humanity, right? It's like when your mom says, make sure you always got clean underwear on in case you have to go to the ER, right? It's all these things that we worry about that we shouldn't, but this just struck me, so the main thing that you were worried about if you died was people judging your housekeeping talents after you're gone. And then I suggested, well, just make some notes to leave them by the dust bunnies. And then you took it to the next level and made all these little name tent type things.
You've got a diorama there.
Yeah, kind of a journal diorama, right? I mean, these are your thoughts.
Grace, if it makes you feel any better, in all the years that I flew as a flight attendant, I always made sure my house was clean, or as clean as I could make it before I left, not that thinking it was going to be a crash, but because I was going to come home and be so exhausted, I'd have a clean house to come home to, and I wouldn't have to clean anything for a day, because I probably sometimes didn't have more than 24 hours at home before I had to go back out. So the cleaning part makes a lot of sense to me for a little bit different reason, though.
Yeah.
Well, there, I think some of the male of the species can add to both of you.
They're all shaking their heads going, what is with these women?
Yeah, what is this? Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, and so then just take us forward. So when you started, what did you start? What did you do? And what made a difference for you?
So I knew that I was flying to Chicago from we flew from Burbank.
Yeah.
So and it was going to be a longer flight than any I had done in recent years. So I just immersed myself in the audios, the videos. I just listened to various things that you had available. And at some point, I flipped a switch and it's like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm good to go. But I kept had my little kit of things to take with me on the plane. I had a straw that I could breathe through to regulate my breathing, because in the early days you talked about breathing through a straw. Now
Right.
it's the 1, 2, 3, 4 out.
Yeah, and you can still do that through a straw as well. But the straw was something that I stole from an old Northwest program that, I mean, back in the 70s or the 60s, that they said that, and I've had other people say that doesn't do any good. Well, nothing does any good unless you change your mindset. So if you pick up a straw, one of the things is, this is weird. I'm breathing through a straw. So now you've at least shifted your awareness a little bit, and it can actually help people not hyperventilate, because it restricts the amount of air that you can suck in.
Writing with your non-dominant hand, that's a really good one, because you can't think about anything else when you're doing that.
Yeah. And that's, we try to come up with actionable tasks that you do that take more cognitive energy. It's the simplest way to put that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really feel like practicing and doing, not just expecting it to,
catch
happen, because I've been doing practice flights. I flew with you. And then when I successfully did the Chicago trip, I thought, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do something really, really
Greg,
bold.
get your wallet out. This is going to cost you.
Yes. And so I planned this trip to Hawaii for New Year's, and I did it.
And you did it. I'll shift that slide over there. I'm not sure.
Grace, I have a question. That's a long flight. And I lived in Hawaii for over 12 years, and I know it's a long flight. Did you think or prepare or do anything specifically because it was going to be such a long flight? As you had the intermediate one up to Chicago, but this one to Hawaii, I mean, this is the reason for it was a more pleasant one, vacationing, obviously, in contrast to your flight up to Chicago. So did that affect the way you prepared for your flight to Hawaii, or?
Yes, I was so excited because we did the inter-island cruise.
Okay, I've done that one. Fun, huh? Yeah.
Super fun, and preparing for it was super fun.
Right.
And just, I was really into it, and I included some Fearless Flight stuff with it as well as in my preparations. And I took my folder, my Fearless Flight folder that has notes from that very first Air Hollywood class that I attended. The paper notes that are now all digital.
Yeah.
The handout that we got and talks
And
about.
what was it like for Greg, your husband, to watch you over the years? If he's not here, but we'll talk about him anyway. So,
sure. Well, he always sticks out his thumb.
Yeah.
And because I use his thumb as a worry stone, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he always notices if I, you know, if I don't need it. Like he'll say, "Wow, you really got through that flight and even through the bumpy parts." I'm like, "Yeah, amazing."
Nice.
Um, I just think,
Great.
yes.
Grace, we have just a question from a viewer, and that is, what actually are or were your triggers? And then the second question, how did the harmonizer help you, and are you still using it? So the same person, two questions, what are your
Mhm.
triggers, and if and how the harmonizer helped you?
The harmonizer is very helpful and I still use it. Sometimes I use it, you know, as I'm waiting to board or when I'm actually on the flight, in
Mhm,
flight. Sometimes I listen to it more than once.
mhm,
Um, my triggers are more like anticipating. Once I get once I get on the plane, I'm kind of like, let's do this, you know? And this was the biggest plane I had both going and returning from Hawaii was the largest plane I had flown in for quite a while. And
Did you ride on Hawaiian? Just out of
it was
curiosity.
Hawaiian, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we weren't in first class, although that looked very good, being able to lie down flat, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
For
maybe
sure.
sometime in the future. Um, but we did have a little extra leg room, so that was good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I think that not only the lying down flat, but just the space you feel around you is part of that too. Yeah.
mhm.
And I always encourage people, if you can afford it, if you go on a flight of that duration and in scope, if you can afford upgrading a little bit, it's always better. It's
Yeah.
always better. Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
like, it doesn't bother me that to be enclosed, you know, the door closing. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
want to take off, we probably need to close the door.
Yeah.
And
It's less windy for sure. So looking back, you said about around 2010 when you lost your that's when you lost your mom, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And do you remember consciously, was it like, oh, I can't fly anymore, or I mean, because it was in the flight that you started to notice it, and then did you just kind of say, okay, flying's done, or did you in the back of your mind were you saying, okay, I gotta do something to figure this out because I still want to fly, or what was that like at that when you first started noticing it?
Yeah, I don't w- we had a flight planned from LA to Minneapolis one time, and I just woke up the morning of the flight and told my husband I don't want to fly.
Uh-huh.
And we were going to try, you know, I was going to go to some sort of a workshop, and then
Sure.
we were going to, you know, do some sightseeing and and he was just going to have fun. And I said, no, I can't do it. And so that was, I don't know exactly the year, but at some point after the
Uh-huh.
2010 um, date.
So
And
from the
so,
time you started noticing the anxiety, then there was a definite line of demarcation kind of where you said, okay, this is really affecting me now. And
yeah.
then did you continue to fly at all during that period until,
Well, again, I flew those
short
shorties
trips? Okay.
to Las
Yeah.
Vegas. We
Yeah.
did one to Reno
Okay.
because we went to Lake Tahoe. But it was basically, you know, less than 2 hour flights
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. Um, so I was really pleased that I was able to do this Hawaii trip and I think it's just the practice, just putting into practice these strategies that
Yeah.
you tell us about. Um,
I did something different with you. I created a custom visualization for you, and you want to talk to that because I've had a lot of really positive feedback from people I've done that for. What was that? How did you use that, or what did that make a difference?
Yeah, it was great. It was one of the ones that I'd used and found helpful. And that reminds me, another really good strategy that came out of the book Chatter,
Mm-hmm.
that I listened to. I have it in my audio library and I listen
Yeah.
to it.
And
And
this is the book for those listening. It's a book by a fellow named Ethan Kross, Kross. It's called Chatter, and it's one of the best resources I've found. It's just talking about how you get rid of all that troublesome.
one thing that he talks about is speaking to yourself
Right?
in the,
Distance self-talk.
yeah, and you speak to yourself in the second person
Second or third,
or third.
yeah, either one. Just as if you were traveling with somebody that you were comforting, coaching, a child or whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's helpful. Very
And that's
helpful.
what I did. That's what I try to do in all the custom visualizations I do now is to make sure that there's distance self-talk in there. And it's a way because when that little switch throws for us, we then are able to distance ourselves emotionally from that part of us that was getting all, wired up and fired up and all that. Kind of the last question or reaching the end here. If you go back to give any advice to the version of yourself way back when, do you have anything that comes to mind, what you would tell that person?
Don't give up.
Okay. Perfect. I
Yeah.
couldn't think of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I tell people myself is just don't quit. Because you can do this. Don't beat yourself up for why you waited this long or anything like that. Just don't quit. Just don't quit. Any other words of wisdom or things you want to say? I
Well,
really want to thank you for coming on. So,
you're welcome. It kind of reminds me of when someone gets sober.
mm,
It's like if they're getting down on themselves, why didn't I do this earlier? Just start.
Mhm.
This is the best day to start is today. And don't worry about what you coulda, shoulda, woulda done.
don't shut on yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
just
Yeah.
start.
It really is. And that's the thing I see, particularly in the 15-minute coaching calls, is people come in there and they're they so berate themselves oftentimes, like, why me and why can't I get over this and all that? And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. We're talking about some very sophisticated brain chemistry for the most part. And once it triggers all the cortisol and all those chemicals and stuff, it's all over. It just runs away from you. So anyway, well, you're a very sweet person and a very kind person. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and you're a musician, right? Found that out,
Yes.
and a teacher. So no wonder you're such a good person. So anyway, but thanks. It's been a pleasure to have met you and inspirational for me to see the lengths that you've gone to not give up. So thanks. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Very
welcome.
good.
And you can stay with us for a minute. I'm gonna breeze through these. Just a little bit about how safe it is to fly out there, and it doesn't seem anywhere near as important as what we just got from you. So I may just push that off to another week here myself. So anyway, but thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Grace.
Grace.
Appreciate it.
so okay, we'll leave that. And hopefully you guys are looking at that. Yeah, I'm gonna go through that. We'll talk next week about why it's so safe to fly. Just know that it is. I would just want to remind everybody that we are going to, as near as we can to what Dieter suggested, we're going to try to get this off the ground and maybe as early as February 8th. That's the target date we're looking at right now, and really looking forward to it. And a little bit different delivery. Like I said, we're not going to make the long class. We're going to make it shorter. It's going to be less expensive, and give people a chance to sink their teeth in it, get going, get a little start, and then maybe offer up a flight down the road. Well, we will be offering flights down the road as well. Just back to review, we are going to have our monthly live group coaching webinar on Thursday, January 16th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will have an encore presentation of that on the Saturday after that. And I messed that up. It should be Saturday, January 18th, 2025. I think I got the other slide right. And that's at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we do record them. And Grace, if she's still on, I may ask her this, but I think Grace has been attending those regularly as well.
So the correct dates are January 17th and 19th.
Is it really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think so. That's January.
No.
Actually, no, that's not true. It's January 16th and 18th. Okay. That's correct. There we go. I had the same schedule as you did.
That's my perfectionism, and it's not very high, but I just wanted to not lose that. So, Grace, you want to say anything? Because I know I've seen your smiling face on the webinars from time to time. I think you've been attending them, haven't you?
Everything helps.
Yeah.
Pile it on.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, that's the best for anybody who doesn't know what to do. Just come and join one of the webinars, and because you do, even though it's Zoom, you get to hear and meet other people who are going through the same thing as you. And I really think community is the most important thing about this. Just finding out you're not alone and all that. So I have one kind of a funny thing here. At first I heard it was the 30th, and then Diane reminded me it's the 45th anniversary of the movie Airplane. And so lighten up, go look at some funny humor about airplanes. And this was a landmark movie because you get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays the co-pilot. Oh my gosh, they have some classic people.
It's just, too many stars to imagine. It's
hilarious, and it reminds you that life is fun, and flying's a good way to get there. So definitely don't take anything in the movie to heart.
No.
But anyway, so thanks, Diane. Thanks, Dieter. Thanks to all of you. Thanks, Grace, for coming. And I always like writing my notes to you. It says in the visualizations that, and remember, you have the Grace. It's just such a cool thing to be named Grace. So your mom, whatever she was thinking, she did right when she gave you that name. So anyway, but thanks for coming on and bearing your soul. And we wish you the best. And all of you out there, keep working on it. Don't ever give up, and know that you have the power within you to get through this stuff and enjoy the rest of your life without limits. Okay, so come on back next week. We'll be doing this again, and this is Fearless Flight live. We're happy to have you, and keep coming back because it works if you keep working it. All right.